Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, so Father Murphy walks into a pub. He comes up to the first man he meets and he says, "Do you want to go to heaven?" And the man says, "Why, yes." He's like, "Go stand over by that wall." Comes up to another man and says, "Do you want to go to heaven?" The man says, "Well, yes." Father Murphy says, "Well, go stand up against that wall." Then he walks up to O'Toole and he says, "All right, O'Toole, do you want to go to heaven?" And O'Toole said, "No, I don't, Father." It's like, "You don't? But you're a good Catholic man. You can't tell me that you don't believe when you die you don't deserve to go to heaven." O'Toole says, "Well, when I die, yes, I do want to go to heaven. But I thought you were taking people now."
Yeah.
Sorry, but most of the Irish jokes that are really funny, I can't really share with you, so you'll have to go online yourself. That's all I can tell you. So this month, we're talking about making the sacred connection, that connection to that soul of ours, that connection to that part of us who really does see everything as holy now. And it's about seeing our sacred selves, because that's where it starts. And so we've been looking at this and talking about the idea that when we really get clear on who we are, not who we're supposed to be or who we want to be, but who we really are, then that connection becomes so much easier because we can easily go deeper into ourselves and not run away scared. We can sit with our own company. And that's sort of the key to life, right? Is being in your own company and appreciating it. It's about shifting inward for our direction and our guidance and our protection, not seeking the answers anywhere else. So today, I want to look at that sacred connection from a place of it allowing us to surrender, to just let go, release, and let Spirit do what Spirit's to do. I want to take a look at both surrender and how we get lucky. More on that later. So every Sunday, you hear us say there's a power for good in the universe, greater than we are, right? And we can use it. And usually our focus is on we can use it. We can use it consciously. But today I kind of want to take a spin on that. I want to look at this idea is that there is a power for good greater than we are, and it can use us. So that idea that it can use us really allows us to take full advantage of what it's good at. And what it's good at is supporting us in every possible way, in every loving way. When we let it use us, then we are surrendering to its glory, actually. Because that power, whatever you call it, Spirit, all good, God, infinite possibilities, whatever you choose to call it, it loves you, respects you, and wants you to have the very best of what it is that you want. And when we value our spiritual connection, when we really trust our sacred selves, then the next logical step is to surrender to it, to our soul's desire, to it's just to the one, that one creative energy, to intentionally surrender to it. It's the next logical step because we know that we can't do anything without it. So when we get absolutely clear on who we are, when we're willing to sit in our own company, when we're willing to look within first, then this one power, this one perfect intelligence goes to work in the direction we want to go. So, what does luck have to do with it? Absolutely nothing. However, lucky people do have some certain common traits and thought patterns and actions that lets them use that power and allows that power to use them. To surrender and cooperate. People who are lucky tend to be willing to cooperate with the universe. Imagine that. So, back in the 1990s, Richard Weissman did a study, and he wrote a book called The Luck Factor. And there's been a lot of studies since, but they all kind of support what he originally found. And he found these common traits. But let me be really clear first, that it's not about believing in luck or believing in miracles. As Judy so poetically shared with us, everything is a miracle, and everything is luck, and everything is unfolding just as it should. And if we don't like it, then we get to change our thoughts, and thus it changes how it's all flowing. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, writes, "We are not depending on chance, but upon the law. The responsibility of setting the law in motion is ours. But the responsibility of making it work is inherent in its own nature." There we go again. We are not responsible. We're not responsible for the how, or the when, or the who. We're just responsible for being clear on what it is we want. And then trusting, surrendering, and cooperating with the universe. What Weissman refers to as lucky people, whether they're conscious or not, consciously using the law or not, whether they're aware of it or not, they have surrendered to that power. And here are their common traits. See if any of these traits you've been developing more and more as you've been engaging in this teaching. They maximize chance opportunities. They're open to new experiences, to new opportunities. In fact, I will go so far as to say they seek them out. They're always seeking out, what else? What else can I do, right? To be a greater expression of me. They listen to their intuition. They have that gut feel, and they follow it. They don't ignore it. They don't get scared by it. They expect their good. They just expect it. They just know that those lemons are going to become lemonade. They don't need to know how. They just know it does. Which is why they can turn bad luck into good luck. They're resilient. They can bounce back, right? They can, in Science of Mind terms, they can step back and self-correct. So today, I want to look at two of these today. I want to look at how lucky people maximize their opportunities and how lucky people expect to find their good. So, let's think about it for a minute. Jesus fed 5,000 plus people, right? Now, the food didn't just like come out of thin air. He started with what he had: bread and fish. So he started first with honoring and giving thanks for what he already has. And then he trusted that it would expand. And that he didn't have to expand it, that it would expand. But the food that fed the crowd was an expansion of the existing supply. And that's the key to that story, that parable. You're never starting with nothing. You're always starting with something. And it's about giving thanks for that something and know and appreciate that this is just the beginning. That this too will expand. There's a story in the Bible, the parable of the talents. But there's also a same message in the book, The Secret of a Millionaire's Mind. And in that book, the author suggests that you picture yourself in a park with a 3-year-old. And you go by an ice cream stand and you each get 1 scoop of ice cream. Walk a few steps away. Of course, the ice cream drops from the cone. And the 3-year-old starts to cry. And you're like, no, don't worry about it. Let's go get you another ice cream cone. Well, you go back to the stand, and the 3-year-old sees this sign for a triple scoop. Right? And it's like, the 3-year-old's like, I want that. That's what I want. And you think about it, because you really want to make this 3-year-old happy. Right? But the 3-year-old wasn't able to handle 1 scoop. What in the heck are they going to do with 3 scoops, right? Sheer failure. And the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to set this 3-year-old up for failure. You just don't. So you say, no, well, let's just have 1 scoop and we can come back for more. And it's all because you just don't want to set this 3-year-old up for failure. The same holds true when it comes to the universe, if you think about it. The universe doesn't want to set you up for failure. It doesn't want to give you more than you can handle, more than you can appreciate, more than you can use, right? So we need to show ourselves, our spiritual selves, that we can handle what we already have. And we are more than ready to handle more because Spirit loves us and does not want to set us up for failure. Our soul loves us and doesn't want to be set up for failure. So, lucky people, those people who have that sacred connection to oneself, rejoice in what we have at hand. We give thanks for what we have, for our time and our talents and our treasures. And we share them willingly, joyfully, thankfully, because we know that there's an infinite supply. And as we appreciate and consciously share, we're telling the universe we're ready for 3 scoops. Like right here, right now, bring it on. So second, lucky people expect their good. There's a song, you may not always get what you ask for, but you always get what you need. There is that. You don't always get what you want, but you always get what you need. Well, that all comes down to expectations. And think about how life is when you are always expecting your good to show up. It's like that joke about the kid who gets a pile of dung for Christmas, and he's like, I know there's a pony in there somewhere, right? It's that kind of expecting your good. And it's about those expectations that are deep down, those life expectations, those kinds of expectations that we just expect good. There's a small town, and it's a dry town, and someone comes in and opens up a tavern. And the church folks are just livid. So they call for a 24-hour prayer vigil. And they get together, and they just pray all night for God to intervene. Well, shortly thereafter, a lightning bolt hits the tavern, burns it to the ground. And the tavern owner sues the church. And the church is like, we had nothing to do with it. It was an act of nature. And the judge, who was a very wise man, said, no matter how this comes out, one thing is obvious. The owner expects the prayers to be answered, and the churchgoers do not. It's about your expectations. When you do a spiritual mind treatment and affirmative prayer, when you make a statement of your truth, do you really believe it and expect it? Like, really, like, it gives you butterflies in the stomach, kind of, I'm so excited, I'm expecting this. I mean, when you seriously ask yourself that question, how does it go? How does it go when you're expecting something that's small? Like, I really want this meeting to go well, and I'm praying for that, versus, I really want to get this job, right? The expectation changes, I think, the bigger the prayer is, the bigger the ask or the statement of truth is. New Thought writer Eric Butterworth wrote, you do not receive what you want or even what you pray for. You receive what you expect. Most of us go through life holding a small tin cup under Niagara's Falls of God's plenty. This manifests as a string savings, make do, can't afford it consciousness. It's marginal living at best. We prepare for problems and are rarely disappointed. We are in tune with the indefinite instead of the infinite. We are practicing the absence instead of the presence of God. It's so easy to focus on lack, on what we don't have, or what other people have and we don't. But you can't circumvent principle. And the principle is, what you focus on is what you get more of. It's the law. It's the way the universe works. Because the universe, remember, it doesn't want you to fail. It wants you to succeed. It just says, yes, my beloved, how can I show my love? Yes, my beloved, how can I give you more? If you focus on lack and worry, you're going to get more lack and worry. If you focus on good, if you focus on an ever-increasing number of opportunities, you're going to get an ever-increasing number of opportunities. The Apostle Paul said, and my God shall supply every need of yours according to its riches and glory. There's a power greater than we are. And it wants to use us. It wants to say yes to that sacred soul for all of this bounty. It's a system. It's constantly providing every single one of our needs. And yes, the race consciousness, that cosmic soup, all kind of feeds into that, right? So it's not about everything's going to be a panacea, because there's other stuff that feeds in. But we can make our lives so much better. And as our life gets better, as we share that with others, as we bring others with us, through sharing of our time and our talent and our treasures, when we do that, then it can come even closer. Ernest Holmes. Our thoughts should tend towards more and more an affirmative attitude of mind that is positive, stable, and above all else, towards a real unity with the Spirit that is already complete and perfect. We are already complete and perfect because we are made in the image and likeness of it. We have everything we need to make our expectations become reality. Because if we didn't, they wouldn't be our expectations. Spirit, that creative power, enjoys its creation as we enjoy our life. And man, it should always be a triple scoop, right? Think about it. There's a subtle point between using the power of good and letting the power of good use us. Because it knows what it's doing, and we don't always, right? For example, let's look at love. When we treat for love in our life, we usually have an idea of what it's going to look like and maybe even who it's going to be, right? Or at least what they're going to be like. But what if creation has a better idea? What if that sacred part of you, what if it really knows the right person or the right thing, or maybe what level you're at? Not that person at this time, on this day, but maybe it's something greater. When I was in Carlsbad, there's a lot of Science of Mind churches in Southern California. And there was this gal, and she would come to church, and oh man, she wanted a partner so bad. So bad. And she would show up, and she'd start taking classes, and she'd go to all these workshops, and she'd show up every Sunday, and she'd be of service, and she would twice, she hired me as a practitioner for her, right? So wanted that relationship. And so we would work on it really diligently. And sure enough, she'd come in on a Sunday, bring this guy with her, true love. Wouldn't see her again for a couple of years, right? A couple of years go by, she shows up. What does she want? True love, right? She was so focused and driven that in addition to the prayer work, she took the next natural step, right? She would hire a matchmaker or one of those, go to breakfast, whatever places, right? And she would just force herself to fall in love. It was really quite funny, actually, because you can force anything. But can you keep it? That's the question. If you're forcing it through your ego, through the humanness, how long do you get to keep it? I don't think that long. I think lottery winners would tell you the same thing. If you're not ready, and you can force it for only so long, but after a while, you just gotta let it go. And I think that's what we learn here. We learn how to surrender, how to let go, and how to do it not from a place of lack, not enough, but from a place of so good, so perfect, so ready. It's about our consciousness experiencing God's good and expecting it. So I'd like to do a spiritual mind treatment if you guys would join me. Spiritual mind treatment is our word for a souped up affirmative prayer. Okay? So let us just know in this moment that there is that one infinite power, that all providing, that threshold of all wisdom and all truth and all knowledge, and it is always, always available. Always working with, through, and as each of us. In this moment, I claim that I expect and demand a higher level of good, an ever-growing well of talent, of opportunity, of abundance, of love and joy. And I am willing to be a good steward of all of it. I am willing to share it joyfully and thankfully. I am willing to accept it graciously and filled with gratitude. And I am right here and right now ready to let go of any idea of lack. I let go of anything and anyone that is no longer supporting that highest and best that I have stepped into. I stand in my power, in this presence. I am that transformative agent of good, and I demonstrate it through my life every day and in every way. I say thank you for what I have. I say thank you for what is about to be. And I just let God do the heavy lifting to the highest level in my life. I release, I let go, I surrender, and so it is. Okay, sit down. We're not done. Because you don't have your assignment yet. This week, I invite us all to stand in our power. Just stand in it. Claim it. You don't have to name it, just claim it. And then let us look at what we already have and give thanks. Let us spend time being grateful for what we already have. Let us expect our good, and let us surrender. This week, just try it out. See how it works. How can we feel anything but lucky at this point in our life, right? For all the good we have. And with that, namaste.